understand anything, but it was pretty.
So this is our next big sugya. Our next big sugya. All right. So the issue I wanted to take up was it's just going to take us a little while to get there, but the issue was going to be why can't you take Perush Shvius to Chutz La'aretz? So if you guys want to bring back zucchinis to your parents, you can't do it. Question is why not? All right, so we got to do the Gemara. But in order to do that, we got to do the Mishnah, and in order to do the Mishnah, we have to have some background on biur. All right, so who's reading the Rambams?
Me, I'll do.
Binyamin, you do it.
Yeah, I haven't read.
All right, start with. Start with what the Torah says. What does the Torah tell us? Vayikra Perach Chafei Pasuk Vav and Zayin.
Hayta Shavuos Haaretz
L'Achla. So the Torah sets out one thing, that the land is to rest or lie fallow for all humans. Okay, but so animals have free reign. Okay, there's no idea of kinyan, any restrictions in eating. All the produce is in the field. Animals have access to. That's the literal translation. Okay, Rambam, Hilchos Shmita, Parak Zayin, Halacha Aleph. Go. You can only eat Perush Shvius when, as long as that specific min. For now, we're going to call a min. Let's make up a min.
Type?
Well, yeah, but name carrot. Okay, as long as the carrot, you knew that, right? As long as the carrot is still in the field, you're allowed to eat it. Shnei okay. Kolzman shechaya. So what's he saying? As long as the animal is eating, as long as there's produce for the animal to eat, as long as there are carrots for the animal to eat in the fields, so then you can eat the carrots in your house are mutter to eat. Okay, but kala completes. So now, what does biur literally mean? Biur.
Burning.
Destroy. Right? So you have to destroy those fruits.
I thought that's summit.
Here's the case. Let's say...
Like you have an eggplant in your refrigerator.
Well, there's a shiur. Okay? No, you're right. There's a shiur. There's an amount you have to have. But let's say I have... Let's use carrots to make it easy for now, okay? So let's say there's a date, by the way, that they work out. Let's say I'll make up a date. Aleph Adar. So in Aleph Adar, all the carrots are gone from the fields. The animals have eaten them all. So now let's say I have in my house a certain amount of carrots. Right, those carrots I can't eat them. I must. That's called. The Torah wants you. There's a chi of biur. You're chai to destroy them. Now, what does this run?
So up until then, you could eat it, but
correct.
There's no more carrots left in the field.
Any leftover carrots you have after a certain shear, which is about shlosh sudos worth, it's a significant amount. But if you have that in your house, you cannot eat those carrots. You must destroy them. Now, what does destruction mean? Maybe we'll take this up in the future. Biur means, according to the Rambam, biur means literally, which is a very strange halacha. You literally have to destroy them. The Ramban, and this is how he passing today, is you have to mafka them. You have to be out of your bailus.
Why would it? I mean, it seems like...
Keitzad. So what's an example?
Keitzad hare shehayu lo...
Grogro shvius.
Grogro shvius. Besof beso. Ochamen kolzman she'ata'anim bi'ilonos basod.
What's a grogros?
Dried fig.
Right, but it refers to a quantity. In other words, you have it's like a
lump sum of dried figs.
Yeah, like a bundle. There's a term for it in figs, but I mean it's like a bundle of. They use it as a shear for. Also, that's why he thought it was a dry.
Ring.
A ring? Yeah. You're right. He's right. Yeah.
Oh, the ring of grapes where you can buy figs. You can buy in the.
Right. So you have that. Okay, you can eat from them as long as there are figs on the trees in the field.
Can we call it? Is this on recording?
All right. So that's the first halachas you have to know. The first halachas are basically how biur works. How does biur work? Biur is where the carrots or the specific min, they're no longer consumed. There's basically nothing left in the fields. Okay, that's halacha. That's the first set of halachas you have to know. Next, kovesh is a method of transferring tam. Normally, when we transfer tam, the classic case is I have a hot cholent. I drop some milk in there, obviously more than shishim. What happens? Because you have two things there. You have liquid and you have heat. The main thing in this case is heat. You have heat. Heat allows tam to transfer instantaneously. Okay? But when you have kvisha or kovesh is I could put two solids against each other and leave them for 24 hours in cold, right? But there's a transfer of time after 24 hours. Okay?
No vinegar.
This case is it's in vinegar. Okay, the vinegar acts as the medium.
Does kovesh imply vinegar?
Let me just. I was going to read the case with Yamin. Hakovesh shosha kvashim mechavis achas. So you're pickling 3 vegetables in this one barrel. Kol shekala mino minasada, yuvar mino minachavis. All right. So that's the key thing about the case. They're bringing this case in for one reason. You'll see in the Gemara. The case is if I have, I'm going to make up 3 vegetables. The case I use with Rinde: leek, onion, carrot. Actually, onion's a bad example. I don't know why I used it the whole time. Leek, zucchini, and carrot. I decided to pickle them. Now comes laughing, but I decided to pickle them. Okay. Now, after kovesh is done, what do each vegetable in there has what in it?
The other 2 things.
Exactly, the other 2 things. Okay. Now, what happens when the
when you make a chillant, you have.
Yeah. So what happens? In fact, even more so when this isn't for yet. This is going to be next week. But if you look at your day, that's what happens. And in your day, you don't have what's a cholent. A cholent is actually that's how you identify foods. What's a cholent? A cholent really is it's beans, barley, sauces, meat, and potatoes. But you don't call it a meat, barley, it becomes cholent. It's actually, there's an abstract identity to the thing. Not a halacha, I'm saying that's how you identify with it. Or whatever, or all the kinds of stews. Here, what's happening, halachically speaking, the leek has a tom, zucchini, and carrot in it. The carrot has a tom, leek, and zucchini in it. And the zucchini has a tom, leek, and carrot in it. So each one has a tom of the other 2. So now the question is, this is where things get funky, what happens when the leek itself is chayv and biur?
Everything is.
No! 3 machlokas. 3 machlokas. The Rambam says, so he says, Ve'im hischel ba, hare hakol kimavur. Okay? What does that mean? Anyone take a shot at that? What does hakol kimavur mean?
It's all as if it was.
Alright, I'm going to punt on that, okay? Because the word mavur is so significant in the sugya, I can't even tell you how important it is. For now, don't worry about it, okay? It's going to come up in a week and a half. Okay, next, halacha tes. Shalosh haratzos, read. 3 areas of land. Kula, Vashvela. What do those words mean, by the way? So, we know Eretz Yehuda is an area of Eretz Yisrael. What's called the middle. What's in it? You have mountain, right? What's Shvela?
Valley? No.
The plain?
Plain, Emek is valley.
Valley, very good. So you have 3 different topographical areas in Yehuda. Okay? Aver HaYarden.
Then Kula, Sheflas, Lud.
The Shvelas Lud. The Har Shvelas Lud. Alright, so if I had the border here, I could draw that out for you. But basically, Aver Yarden is.
Isn't Beis Choron?
It doesn't mean the other side of the Yarden, by the way. It doesn't just mean that.
Isn't Beis Choron right near here?
I don't know if that's I don't know if it's the same Beit Choron. I'm not sure. I know what you're talking about. On the way in on 443, there's a Beit Choron. I'm not sure. Do the last one, and then you have the Galil.
Galil Kulo Elyon, Tachton.
Utchum Tveria. Okay, so there are 3 distinct lands. The Eretz Yisrael, the Rambam brings down in Parashat Shayos that this is actually done in Hagbal when they actually were dividing up Nachala for all the Shvatim. This also took place. So Eretz Yisrael is divided up into 3. Why?
If it was done at the same time, when the Torah just said that.
What do you mean? The Ochlim B'chol Achas V'Achas V'Shloshtan. What does that mean?
It all goes on the last one.
In your area. Okay, so what does that mean? So let's give me an example. What is he? Well, I'm sorry. Right. You're ready to go to the next halacha. Ketzad.
Ketzad are you lo peres be'eretz Yehuda? Ochaman kolzman sheishman also hamin b'chol eretz Yehuda kula.
So what is it? What's that halacha? So as long as what?
None of your fruits are or vegetables, you can still eat as long as there's still somewhere in your area. There's still
right. So it's interesting. So you could have a havmina. I'm not saying God's havmina, but you could have a havmina to say that there'd be no division of Eretz Yisrael, and it just goes based on when there are no more carrots. But for some reason, we'll get to that later on. Eretz Yisrael is divided up into 3. So even though there may be biur in zone A, that has nothing to do with zone B. Okay, so biur is only reality in whatever zone you live in. Okay?
So why does that matter?
Great question. We're not ready for that yet. Okay? That comes up later. Good question.
Wait.
No, wait. The whole sugya to develop. Yeah. All right, now do the last halacha, and this is all this leads to this one halacha here. Hamolach peros. Slowly. Now this is the first place we're taking up. You take peros from where? Give me 2 cities.
Modi'in.
Okay, now pick something way up north. Fine. So I take carrots, right, from Modi'in to Sfat. Okay, in Modi'in, okay, my carrots are chayv and biur, which means they're aser. In Tzvat. Carrots are kedusha shvius, not chayv and beer. Understand? Okay. What's halacha? So the Rambam says, or vice versa. So let's say I go from right. So let's say I go from a place
to here.
Right, and here it's low kalu, but there was kalu. Chayv levar. What does that mean? What's the implication?
It goes on.
Lefi shenosin alav chomrei makom sheyatza misham v'chomrei makom shalach l'sham. What does that mean?
Worst of both worlds.
The worst, exactly. So when you're faced with this, when you're facing a situation halacha, when you're traveling, you'll see how this applies. So you always go by chomrei makom. Chomrei makom means either it's as Johnny put it well, the worst of the two. Okay, so what happens?
The worst.
Right. So and what's the worst? Beer. Right. So no matter what, you don't even have to do beer. Okay. Not so simple though. All right. Now, what does that have to do with us? Binam, let's finish it. Uperis aretz.
Uperis aretz sheyatzu l'chutz la'aretz misbarim b'mkoman v'lo yavirom mimakom l'makom.
So why can't you bring Paris Eretz Yisrael to chutz la'aretz?
Because there's no.
What happens automatically when you get there?
There's nothing there.
Well, what does he say?
You have to do beer.
Beer. That's interesting. So it's not. I mean. Well, we're not at the point where we can define the reason why, but what's the halacha? The halacha is, what's the rationale for why you can't bring fruits? It's nothing to do with the special kedusha of Israeli fruits. It's simply because once they leave, this idea of beer kicks in. And now you have a big problem. Now they're usher.
So even if there's kedusha...
So the Mishnah, so to start the sugya, Mishnah starts on Nun Amud Aleph Pesachim, Makom Shenago, famous Mishnah. Let's get one question out. Well, there's one question you should ask on this, okay? Before we can have actually a decent working svara right now. Well, I should say at least a sense of what the issue here is. Why is this notion of Chomrei Makom strange? There's something very bizarre about it.
How it's arbitrary. The Makom's arbitrary.
What do you mean?
It shouldn't be called Chomrei Makom. It should be just called Chomrei.
Well, if I asked you to categorize the two positions, how would you categorize them?
What two positions?
No, in other words, let's say I go from...
One is a din in Makom, one other has the word Makom in it, but it's just a din in Chomrah.
No, well, 1 second. Which one is a din in Makom?
Minog.
No.
Makom.
No, which one is the din? Which side is that? No, if I go from... let's deal with the case. I'm going from Modi'in to Tzfat, okay? To Tzfat. So now, I leave Modi'in, right, and my fruit, my carrot that I take with me is not Chayv and Beer. When I get to Tzfat, Tzfat is Chayv. That's Makom, okay? So what's the other way?
It's on the Gavra, maybe?
The Kagmi and the Gavra.
What other way? I don't know what you're saying.
If I go from Modi'in and my carrot in Modi'in is Chayv and Beer, and I take it to what do you call it, to Tzfat, and there's no beer in Tzfat, that doesn't change the carrot to becoming...
It's still Chomrei Makom, sure.
Right. No, how's it Chomrei Makom?
It's Gavra.
No, it's not Gavra. That's the trick here.
No.
It's not Gavra. It's obviously in what? It's in the thing itself. Right? So here's what's strange.
Wait, if it's
No,
in the
but then-
thing, it's...
No, let me put it a different way.
Oh, I think I
The
got...
if I asked you the normal case by Minog is what?
Din in Makom.
Right, which so ultimately that falls on who? On you. In other words, there's a Minog in my city not to work. The Minog in the city, that's a to work, right? It's the question of Neo Gavra. How's the Gavra going to know
I
it?
don't get what the difference is Gavra and the Chavtza. It's wherever the fruit is.
Very simple. No, 1 second, because what you're saying is that according to think about
Where
it.
the fruit is. Why do you say Gavra and the Chavtza?
No, because when I leave,
Then the Chavtza means like permanent?
Listen. When I leave Modi'in, is my carrot Chayv and Beer?
No.
No, let's say it was. Let's say Modi'in, it's Chayv and Beer.
And you leave Modi'in?
Yeah.
Oh, you want to say... Sorry, I thought you were talking about...
Let's say Modi'in.
Modi'in...
Let's say in Modi'in, all carrots now are Chayv and Beer, and I take that carrot with me to Tzfat, right? And in Tzfat, it's not Chayv and Beer. So what we're saying is that it retains its status as a Chatza, right? It's a Chatza that's Chayv and Beer. That doesn't change. That's okay. Now let's do the reverse. If my carrot is not Chayv and Beer, and I go to a place where it is Chayv and Beer, right? So what's happening? Well, you can't tell me the carrot is now Chayv and Beer. That doesn't make any sense. The Chetza is not Chayv and Beer.
Why not?
Because how could that be?
Okay,
explain what the problem with that is. Now I'm going to take what Johnny just said and just going to jump on that. Okay, so I'll say as follows. Okay, what makes
Just to clarify, that's basically an elaborate version of Minog Makom.
No, just listen.
I just want to know. I want to understand his point.
Now I'm not sure. So now the question I said it to make it nice. So the question is, but 1 second. If I brought a carrot, let's use oranges because I think it's easier to relate to them. Let's use oranges as our example. Now, if I bring an orange from Florida okay, to New York,
Florida.
isn't it always a Florida orange?
Yes.
You can't tell me that the Makom changes the identity of the object. You could say my nihog might have to change.
Actually, I'm not buying that.
So what's happening when I go to New York? To New York,
It
what's happening in New York?
becomes A New York residing, Florida-born orange.
So what kind of thing is that? What is that?
When he's living in New York?
That's very strange. I'm saying
It's not so
this is
strange.
it
You
is
also
strange.
live in your birthplace.
It is strange. You'll see. You'll see why it's strange. Okay. The Gemara struggles with this a little bit, but the problem is that you have a very strange concept here. Why? Because normally Chomrei Makom apply to what? To
The
me.
Makom.
No, I'm saying, but to me.
Chomrei Makom is the most. That's the time.
So-
You know, I'm gonna break
so
your
just
problem.
add one more point. The point I'm trying to make is that the way the Mishnah is treating this, the Mishnah is treating this as equals. Okay, the Mishnah is saying that you have Makom and you have the fruit where it comes from, and the Gemara is saying, and the Mishnah is telling you that you have this equality, and now you got to choose to be like one way or the other. So it says always go by machmer. But what's strange is that intuitively I'd always think that the chefsa should dominate over minhag makom. If I have an orange, it's a Florida orange. Nothing can change that from being a Florida orange.
Why not?
Because it's a Florida orange. It was grown in Florida. It's Florida taste. It's separate from me. It's nothing to do with me.
Okay, fine. So now we'll separate beer.
The Mishnah says, "Hamolas perish v'yis makom shekalo makom shelo kalo or makom shelo kalo makom shekalo chayav devar." That's clear, right? So the Tanakama follows the Chomrei Makom idea. You always go, when it comes to beer, you always go by the Chomrei Makom. Now Rav Yehuda comes along and says something that nobody understands what he's saying. Rav Yehuda Omer, say v'havilach afata, in the end of the Mishnah. Next stop. Say v'havilach afata. Anyone want to take a shot what that means? Service, without even knowing what that means, right? There's only one or two possibilities of Rav Yehuda's position. Either he's more... Right, exactly. So at least you have that going into the sugya. You know one thing: Rav Yehuda is going to have to end up sitting on one side of the fence. So either he's arguing Tanakama mitzad Chomrei or mitzad Kula. We don't know yet. All right, so watch what the Gemara does. Now comes the Gemara.
What is the music again?
Gemara on Nun Beis Amanav says v'leislei Rav Yehuda, v'leislei Rav Yehuda. So the Gemara says, you're telling me that Rav Yehuda didn't agree with Tanakama? So this is an amazing question the Gemara asks. The Gemara says, you're telling me that Rav Yehuda disagrees with Tanakama, right? Hadfan, the Mishnah says, no sin alav chomrei makom sheyatza misham, right? V'chomrei makom shalach l'sham. Now, what's so?
Where are you?
Right here in the two dots. So normally, what's so strange about this Gemara, actually, I shouldn't say strange, intriguing, is that the Gemara asks the question of Leslie Rav Yehuda as if like, come on, that's crazy to think that Rav Yehuda argues in Tanakama. And yet, what does Rashi do? Johnny, what does Rashi do? Did you read that Rashi in Leslie?
Right stuff.
What?
Oh, yeah. I mean,
What does he
I can
do?
fully understand it, but he...
He plays out the Havamina. In other words, the Gemara says, that's why you got to appreciate the Lashon. The Leislei the Rav Yehuda. So the Gemara is saying,
Come on.
I really don't like Rashi. I'm just going to get that off my chest.
but watch what happens here. It's unbelievable. So Rashi,
He's so annoyingly cryptic. And
as the introduction to look at this Rashi, which shocked me, what was shocking about this Rashi is that the Gemara says V'leislei the Rav Yehuda, almost as if to say that there's no way Rav Yehuda can argue in Tanakama. And yet, what does Rashi do? He plays out how you could learn Rav Yehuda arguing on Tanakama, meaning he's learning this out as a Havamina. He's saying,
What is Rashi?
Rashi, V'leislei Rav Yehuda, good segue. The mashma sheyachal lomar lo, so he could say to him, okay, Rav Yehuda could say to. It's V'leislei Rav Yehuda, so it's the second narrow line.
Read it again.
Oh, see, yeah, this is like one of the... He is...
Sheyachal lomar lo, right? Ben makom shelo kalu, the ben makom shekalu. So a person from a place, right, where it's not chayv and beer, right? He could say to the guy where is chayv and beer, okay? I'm just translating literally. Say v'havelach af ata mimakom shehevesi. You can go ahead and take from where I'm from. What's he saying? What was the Havamina? What could he have done?
Oh, he could...
I come in my town. It's not chayv and beer,
Oh, so you
and your town is chayv
Go
and
to my
beer.
town and take the fruit.
Exactly. I'll bring you. Basically, all the oranges from Modi'in, they're fine. Meaning,
Like
the Rashi says. So what's Rashi saying? What's he saying at this point?
What he's saying.
Again, he says, what's Rav Yehuda stating? Rav Yehuda is saying that the guy from Modi'in, where it's not chayv and beer, says to the guy in...
He's throwing out Chomrei Makom. That's what he's doing.
Right. Well, no, not Chomrei Makom completely.
But not...
I said before, it's really strange to say it always goes by the Makom. Why is that strange? I was cheating, because what's Rav Yehuda saying? Rav Yehuda is saying if you have a choice in this situation, what are you going to go by? The Makom or the Chefza? The Chefza! Of course you go by the Chefza. If the case were reversed, fine, they'll go by Makom. But in this case, it's a Florida orange, so I'm going to tell all my guys in...
Yeah, but still, what's the purpose of the rule?
So Rashi says, again, Ben makom shelo kalu ben makom shekalu tseva havilach avata makom shevesi. The timsa, and you'll find when you go there, right? Shelo kalu sham lachaya, right? The achol me'osan shetavi. Okay. Now, so you can eat from my fruits. You can eat from the Modian fruits. Now, the osa shelcha sheyishacha babayis asurin. But your spot oranges that you have in your house are usher.
Again.
The timer.
Whoa, what beige are you doing? Okay.
The timer mishum de galu kan, right? Uvazel makom kalu, because the reason why your oranges are usher because they grew in spots, right? Ava ani hevesi es shali makom heter, right? And I brought mine from makom heter. Okay. The ein kam machlokas. Okay. What do you mean by machlokas? What do you mean by machlokas? No. What dispute so far as what?
The locals are down for this.
Right. The less like the Rebbe Yehuda. Okay. The less like the Rebbe Yehuda. Now, so what does the Gemara mean when it says less like Rebbe Yehuda? It means the less like Rebbe Yehuda, the asar mishum chomrei makom. So Rebbe Yehuda has no idea of asar mishum chomrei makom. Shehalach l'sham. Right. So that's the whole point of this havamina. You're saying that Rebbe Yehuda has no idea of chomrei makom shehalach l'sham. Meaning, if my oranges were not chayv and bior, and I go to spot where spot oranges are chayv and bior, that doesn't affect my orange. Right. Doesn't affect it at all.
It's all about the birthplace, maybe.
Right.
Maybe we'll see. Let's see the other side.
Well, okay.
Let's see the other side.
The fuel ain't sham. Oh, sorry. Right. The fuel ain't sham machlokas. Right. And it's not even. He's not even going against their minhag makom. Right. Why? Dehami makom she'ein osin l'makom she'osin. Right. The time of lav mishum machlokasu. The asrinan le mishum chomer makom she'yatsa misham. What does that mean?
That seems like
Ultimately, Rabbi Yehuda goes back.
I don't. In the words.
Okay, but let's say Rabbi Yehuda the Asr, Mishum Chomrei Makom. So therefore, Rabbi Yehuda has no idea. He doesn't hold up the idea of always going by Chomrei Makom.
Fine.
Right? Shahalach l'sham. Right?
Fine.
Va'afilu ein sham machlokas, meaning he doesn't even care about there being. There's no issue of him going against the minhag makom.
When he said ain't some does it mean he doesn't care about the day? He doesn't care
It doesn't
about
exist.
makom?
It's not a machlokas. Why is that a machlokas? Why are you not going against the minhag makom?
There's no concept of
You're going against the minhag makom. Why is it the fact that I tell these guys? Well, why is it if I have my Modian orange and spot, I'm not going against the minhag makom?
Is he saying?
Because that's what say the habilach means.
He's saying I don't care.
He's saying
or
that
he's saying they won't care.
they all agree to it.
Yeah, they can go back. He's saying I'm not hogging the Modian oranges for myself. Go back and take from Modian. That's not against minhag makom. That's how it's not a machlokas.
Chiddush city.
Right. So that doesn't bother me. The real issue.
Fine.
No, so that's what he says. So he says, "Daha mimakom she'enosin, from a place where they don't do it, l'makom she'osin, to a place where they do it. The time of law, the reason is not mishum machlokasu. In other words, there's no machlokas if I go from a makom where they don't do it to a makom where they do it, meaning no beer to beer, right? You're not worried about there being a machlokas. I'm not going against the minhag makom.
Sociology now. It's fine.
Right? The asrina le mishum, and it's usher to them mishum chomer makom sheyatsa misham. In other words, when would it be usher? But when would it be usher?
No. What did that mean? So I asked a question. What does that mean?
The
Mishum chomer makom sheyatsa misham. What does that mean?
At the end of the day, do we reject this?
Yes.
Yes. So
What does that mean?
it is usher to him because of chomer makom, the stringencies of the place that go out from there.
Oh, Yitzi Misham is a figure of speech.
Which would mean what? Do the reverse case.
That's what.
What's the reverse case?
Right.
The reverse case is, let's say my Modian oranges are chayv and bior.
Right, and you go to
and I go to spots. Right, what's the status of my oranges?
Still chayv.
Still chayv and bior.
How do you get that from here?
Chomer makom sheyatsa misham.
Sorry.
I left Modian, and in Modian my stuff was chamor.
I just don't know
that retains. What's the machlokes between Rabbi Yehuda and Tanakama? Tanakama says what? Tanakama says always goes by Chomrei Makom. Rabbi Yehuda says no, doesn't always go by Chomrei Makom. It goes always by it goes Chomrei Makom sheyatsa misham.
Right.
Yeah.
Meaning that if I go out from my place and it's Chayiv and Bior, so that retains its status even in Sod.
Right.
But if I go out where it's not Chayiv and Bior, so that retains also.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay? So what's the machlokas?
Take the bar as the city, not the city.
What Dylan is saying makes a lot of sense.
You, Johnny.
No. So but you are saying that though. So what must Tanakama be holding? Tanakama is holding the following. Tanakama must be saying, just as a step, he must be saying that what? You have equal considerations here. Equal. You have, on the one hand, you have the Yatsa Misham, you have the orange as a chafsa. On the other hand, you have this idea of the reality of the Makom. Give me an example of that machlokas. There's a perfect example. It just passed. No, it just passed. Sukkos. Right? How many days do you hold up? 2 or 1? What's the machlokas based on?
Din
Very simple.
or din
the gavra. Is it there's no reality here, or does it go by where I'm from? Okay? Does it go me? I'm an American? Or does it say we go by or does the makom define my nihug? A very similar thing. Here what's happening is that you have a tension. You have 2 equal things. One is Chavsa, one is the reality of the Makom. In Sfat, there's no such thing as beer for oranges, or the opposite.
Now you didn't.
So what the Gemara is saying is that, no, you'll see why we reject Rabbi Yehuda. What the Gemara is saying is that when you have equal considerations, what do? What do you have to turn to when you have equal considerations? Allah does this all the time. No. You use the right word before.
I guess that's what Lucas.
Chomrei. Okay, so I'll give you a perfect example of halacha like that.
Which two things are equal again? Say it again.
You have the orange being from Florida, and the reality that in the Makom with spots, all oranges are chayv and beer. You have two equal realities. So when you have two equal realities, what does halacha to do? It has to turn to an external. It's arbitrary, an external mechanism to tell you what to do. Like, for instance, Tadir v'sheino. Tadir v'sheino tadir kodem. What does that do with anything? Yeah. Why is Tadir determine what I do?
Can you say it again?
So I'll explain it. Tadir has nothing to do with the actual halacha I'm doing, but it's an external mechanism that tells you, well, I have two equal things in front of me. I got to make a choice. The external comes in and tells you. So Tanakama is saying I have two equal factors. I have where I'm from, and I have the Makom I'm in. Hold on, I have the Makom I'm in. I have two equal factors. So what's going to determine how I act? Chomrei. Chomrei is the determining factor. So Rabbi Yehuda must hold what? They're not equal. Rabbi Yehuda holds they're not equal. Chavsa has to win out. So that's why.
Whoa, chill. You have to go away.
No, Rabbi Yehuda says there is no tension. He just says like this. He goes, it's always defined by the Chavsa. He doesn't mean Chomrei like external Chomrei. He's saying it always goes by the Chavsa. That's what determines it. It always goes by the Chavsa, so I don't care where I'm at. I just care about where I'm from.
So I just don't get it right.
So the Svar according to Rabbi Yehuda is very simple. Rabbi Yehuda is saying that no, it's not that they're two equal things. One clearly beats out the other. So there's no idea of an external Chomrei Makom telling you what to do. You go based on the Chavsa, all right? So now what does the Gemara tell you? The Gemara says no. It can't be. That's the next step in the Gemara. Rabbi Yehuda rejects this premise. Everyone agrees that they're equal considerations. Everyone agrees they're equal. Now comes the problem. So now think about it logically. You guys got to think logicians. If the Gemara is going to reject this premise and say no, there's never a machlokus about the equality. They're both equal issues. They're both equal, right? The Makom and the Chas are equal. So now what's the Gemara have to do to understand this machlokus from Rabbi Yehuda and Tanakama?
How the hell?
It's got to start doing what? Changing
definitions?
Variables. For example.
Why? We got to do a chumrah.
No,
I'll show you. What's the problem?
Perfect example. Here it is. I go from Modi'in. I go from Modi'in. No, I go from Modi'in. My oranges in Modi'in, are they chayv and beer? No. Okay. I go to Tzfat. Are the oranges in Tzfat chayv and beer? No. But what happens when I'm in Tzfat? I find out that the oranges in Modi'in are. Now what?